I tell people when it comes to business, you want to always be asking yourself, how can I make more money? And then how can I keep more of the money that I'm making? Because of course it costs to run a business. But you want to always be asking yourself those two questions.
You're not just a hair professional, you're a CEO.
The story of how I got started was really interesting because I don't do hair. I don't have a cosmetology license. I actually went to school for accounting and economics. And my very first business right out of college, I started an importing business. I was importing hair products from the Dominican Republic and ran that for 9 years. I sold it and then purchased a hair salon with a friend of mine who I met distributing hair products. I was supposed to really just be the finances behind it. She was more of the operation. She had had a salon before. Well, that lasted a year because she liked to spend money and I like to keep money. So it was not a good partnership and we ended up going our separate ways. I bought her out. She opened up another salon, and for me, I never wanted to own a hair salon. And so I had the idea of, okay, I need to make this profitable so that I can sell it, because I had just sold another business, so I knew it was possible. I just needed to make sure that the numbers were good and that the operations were standardized and systematized, and then I could sell it. So that was my plan, and I did that. After 5 years, I sold the hair salon as well. So yeah, so I feel like I know how to make the money, and I was making the money in the salon, but then when it came to taxes, I actually got denied for a home loan. And I remember my mom telling me, she was just like, yeah, you didn't get a house because you've never worked for anybody. And I was just like, well, that's strange. So this was while I still had the hair salon, and I got a full-time job for the very first time in my life on W-2. And when I realized that they were taking out taxes, I was like, what is this tax thing, you know? Because as an entrepreneur, unfortunately, you hear, oh, you want to make sure you take all the deductions and, you know, to pay the least amount of taxes. But what they don't tell you is that when you do that, you are showing that you're not profitable. And you're showing banks and the institution and the IRS and state that you don't make any money. And so it's counterproductive. And I guess no one explained it to me that way. We have to change the messaging when it comes to business owners, because we talk about, yes, we don't want to pay a lot in taxes. I want all the deductions. You do, but you also want to make sure that you are making money. So that's really how I got into taxes, because then I went back to school and was just focused on, okay, I need to understand this tax thing, because I wasn't running my salon in a way where it made sense. And so once I started learning about taxes and getting more into it, I started changing the way I operated my salon. And then when I sold it, I really went into helping more salons understand the taxes and running their business. So that's when I started out in the coaching, and then it turned into, okay, we'll help you with your bookkeeping, and then it morphed into taxes. So now it's Hair CEO is a firm where we do coaching, taxes, and bookkeeping. And when you talk about how do you make more money, fundamentally, it's very simple. I mean, it's so simple that we overcomplicate it, and it's really three things. The first one is you have to make sure that you are charging for your products and your services more than it costs. It's like, fundamentally, yeah, it makes sense, right? Like, if you do not have a price that is more than what it costs you, you're losing money, and you cannot outsell bad pricing. I have a client who very, very popular, you know, over 200,000 followers on Instagram, across her social media. She is always booked, and she sells hair. So the money is just coming in. But what she didn't realize was that she was actually losing money. But it's hard to figure out that you're losing money when it's coming in so fast. She was like outpacing the cash flow problem. But when we really looked at it, she was losing money, but it's just she didn't realize, because the money was coming in so fast that she was able to pay things. But then she was just like, well, I feel like I'm not making any money. Well, yeah, because you're not. And then to make things more complicated and to disguise the problem is then we get into, oh, I need credit. So then we get credit cards, or we get cash advances from our Square accounts or our, credit card processors. It's disguising the problem, because the real problem is that you actually aren't even charging enough money. Have to make sure that your prices cover your expenses. That's the first one. The second way in which you can make more money is to just sell to more people. Again, this is not difficult. They're fundamental things. So the first one, you got to make sure you're priced right. The second way is selling to more people, because you can be priced correctly. You can make sure that your costs are covered and that you're making a profit. But if you're not selling to enough people, you're still not making any money. You have to be able to sell to a certain number of people. And that's what we call like your break-even number. Like, how many people do you actually have to sell to in order to make money? So like, let's take you for example. You have a salon suite business. And so you can say to yourself, okay, I have 6 suites. I need to rent each one of them out for X amount of dollars. Now, you could be priced correctly, but if you don't have all of your suites filled, then you're not making the maximum amount of money that you can make, right? It's the same concept. So you can be priced correctly, but you still have to sell to a certain number of people or to more people in order to make more money. And then the third way of making more money, and again, very simple things. The third thing is to offer more products and services. It's really that simple. And so those are the 3 ways. For you, for example, if you are offering right now just braids, right? And you're just like, okay, I want to make more money. It's the same things apply. Number one, you have to make sure that your prices for your services, your braid services, covering your costs. That's number one. Number two, you can sell to more people. So you have to make sure that you have a certain number of clients each day, week, month, year to make the money or to make more money. And then the third way is to offer more products and services. So literally, those are the fundamental ways in which you can make more money. Each one has 3 kind of sub topics that I like to talk about. So when we talk about sell your products for more than what it's worth, that means number one, you have to know your numbers. Like, you have to get in there and know, okay, what are my costs? And not just my tangible costs, what is my time cost as well? Because a lot of people will leave that out. They'll say, okay, well, my rent is this, I have supplies cost this, and that's it. And you'll tally up all of these costs, but then you'll leave out yourself. You can't leave that out. I absolutely have a formula, but that's in another class, not this one. But you have to know those things, right? You have to know your cost, because before you know your costs, you can't tell someone your price. So the second way is enhance your value perception. So what that is making sure, I'm gonna read it off. It says, enhance the perceived value of your products and services through improved customer experience, branding, and showcasing expertise. Now, unfortunately, this is the area where a lot of hairstylists, they will focus their attention. You know, they'll say things like, oh, well, I offer, refreshments, or I offer my branding, my colors, and when you come in, you have this beautiful space, and that is what they will be fixated on for what they charge. Like, they'll say, I'm a premium brand, and I have all of this stuff. This is my experience that my clients get. And so that's what they'll focus on when they're trying to raise their prices. Like, that's what they'll say, right? But in reality, if you skip part 1, it doesn't matter what you do in part 2, because you don't even know your cost. Like, you want to figure that out first, and then we can start talking about, okay, well, what can I add into my customer experience? What can I do that'll set me apart in my branding? That's the second part. And so again, I like to make things relatable. So for your salon suite, you may be thinking to yourself, okay, if you didn't figure out what your costs were or what your profit margins were, but now you're going all into the design. So you're like, oh, I want my salon suite to have these beautiful floors, and I want to have, pictures on the wall, artwork, and I'm going to have X, Y, and Z. You're getting into the customer. You said what?
It's like my business plan. That's exactly what I just did.
Really? Yeah, listen, I work with only hair professionals and hair business owners. So I work with a lot of salon suite owners. Like they come to me for coaching, accounting, taxes. So believe me, I know what's in your brain. And then for you, you also may be saying to yourself, okay, well, you know what? When people come to me, I'm going to provide the hair. I'm going to make sure that they have a relaxing experience. They're comfortable. I'm going to, provide the washing of the hair. They don't have to worry about that. So again, you're focused on the experience, the branding, but then if you're missing the first part, you're already a step behind. And so the next thing is to know your market position. And so you have to understand where is your position in the market. A lot of people will want to be a premium brand, but are you positioned as a premium brand? And when we talk about your positioning, we're talking about, what is your messaging? What is your messaging saying? Are you portraying yourself as a premium brand? Or like in your messaging, are you saying things like, for example, let's take you as a service provider. Are you saying things like, get in fast and affordable? Okay, well then you're not positioning yourself as a premium. You're positioning yourself as someone who is a quick service and affordable. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that you have to understand where you are in your positioning, because that's also going to dictate your price. But if you're more of a premium brand, then you need to make sure that your messaging is catered more to people who are focused on premium services. So again, knowing your place in the market. So that's selling your products for more than what it costs. Then we get into selling products and services to more people. And 3 kind of sub-ways in which you can do this is, the first one, increase marketing campaigns. This is getting on social media. This is campaigns where maybe you're passing out flyers, some grassroots things, events, or going to where your clients are. Like a lot of times you'll see clients who you'll say like, my brand positioning is more premium. So my clients shop at X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, are you at X, Y, and Z to then pass out cards? Like if you want those people, go to where they are. So again, going into like marketing campaigns. The second way is implementing referral programs. So if you already have clients that meet your criteria, then you ask them for referrals, because you want more of those types of people. Similar people are always together because you attract, your tribe, right? So if you have clients that you really enjoy working with, you want to ask them for referrals. But if you have a client that you don't want to see anymore, you don't want any referrals from them, right? So like for you, for your salon suite, if you have somebody that's paying on time and you're just like, oh my gosh, they're like the model business owner that I want, absolutely ask them, hey, do you have any referrals? And do a referral program. What can you offer them in exchange? And it doesn't always have to be monetary. Like you can get creative with things, with how your referral system works. So that's another way. And then the third way is creating partnerships. Like partnerships go a long way. And especially in this area where this time that we're in, where there's a lot of collaboration and working with different businesses and different types of businesses. Like for example, really good collaboration, me and Dave here, we collaborate. If you into I'm gonna mess it up. Thank you, micropigmentation, SMP. So like collaboration. So he does SMP. My clients are hair professionals. And so it makes sense for a collaboration, right? So if someone is listening to his podcast, that is my ideal client. So I want them as a tax client. I want them as an accounting client. I want them as a business coaching client. But then I have clients who, when they tell me like, Jen, I need to make more money, what was one of my ways? Offer different services or products. Well, are you offering SMP? And now I can give him a referral. So these are creating those partnerships. So there are ways in which you can do the same things for your business. You just have to get creative and think outside the box. And then when it comes to selling more products, and I kind of just talked about it, but again, S&P for an example, that's something that a hair professional could begin to start offering. Because if you're trying to make more money, then you want to look at, okay, what else can I add on or offer that's different than what I'm currently doing? But then there's also different add-ons where it could just be, okay, now I'm going to offer treatments or conditioners or add-on services, upsells and cross-sells. It doesn't have to be something as big of a difference as, okay, I was doing barbering, but now I'm doing S&P. Or at first I was treating women with alopecia with products, but now I'm doing S&P. Like, it doesn't have to be that drastic. A third way is to create affiliates, like in product sales. Like, I know a lot of people will talk about offering products inside of the salon, but I'm just gonna be very honest with the clients that I see. Product sales inside of hair salons and barbershops, sometimes it's just not there, because people are like, they know they can get it from Amazon. So why not have an affiliate link with Amazon? Like, you know, if you're going to be selling products that they can buy off Amazon. Now, there are some salons that have specific products that you can only get from them, and then that's great. But some people don't have that luxury of offering an exclusive line. So until you can, instead of competing with Amazon, why don't you send a link to your clients and say, these are the products that I use, and here's the link to purchase them. And you can let them know, okay, I'll get a small cut if you purchase it, but now the client trusts you because you're not trying to sell them something for 3 times the amount where they know they can get it off Amazon. And now you're getting the affiliate sale. And believe me, it's not just, oh, they buy a shampoo. You might be thinking, oh, well, that's nothing, it's a $10 shampoo. But with an affiliate link, you get a kickback of whatever they purchase. So it's not just a $10 shampoo or conditioner. They could, you know, purchase anything off of Amazon. People spend a lot of money on Amazon, but you're getting a commission off of their total sale. So that's another way. And then also there's creating membership programs. A lot of people are getting to subscription-based services or memberships where you can offer different things to clients if they pay for a membership. I know a lot of people do VIP memberships where they get something special. Maybe they're able to book a week in advance than the normal people. Like, there are ways to create packages. And so you just have to, again, think outside the box. So when it comes to making the money, like, that's my thing, right? Like, but I was always good at that. And so when I had my hair product line, not my personal line only, I had personal line, but I also was just distributing hair products. But that was not a problem for me. And then when I got into the salon ownership, again, making the money wasn't a problem. The problem was the taxes, right? So now the next question is, how do I keep more of my money? And we want to make sure when we're keeping our money that we're doing it legally. We want to make sure that we are not participating in tax evasion or just setting ourselves up where we're not doing things the proper way. And so, again, I like to stick to very fundamental things. I like to keep things very simple. I talked about 3 ways you can make more money. I'm going to have 3 ways where you can save or keep more of your money. The first one is to create and stick to a budget. Too many times, hair professionals and beauty business owners are not creating a budget for themselves. They are just acting willy-nilly throughout the year with their income and their expenses. And so that's the number 1 way. The second way is to spend less than you make. Now, that seems really simple, but I see it all the time, especially because we have credit cards. We have these Square advance loans. And a lot of times you're just spending more than you're bringing in. So I'm saying, oh, you raising your hand like guilty, right? So it seems really simple, but that's like a fundamental way to keep more of the money that you make is by spending less than you make. And then the third way, which is I wouldn't say it's my favorite because I like all of them equally, but the third way is to implement tax strategies. And so the tax strategies is when you really get into some more high level savings and the way you can keep more of your money. But too many people talk about the tax strategy and not the other two. And I like to talk about the other two because, like, yes, you want to implement tax saving strategies, but again, you still want to show money. You still want to show profit. And if you focus too much on, okay, well, how do I get my taxes down? Okay, well then you probably overspending in the business, or you're not operating on a budget. So in your case, you would actually have two budgets. You would have one for your boutique and then one for your services. And then you would do budgets on the expense side for both of them as well. Same for you, salon suites, you need projected income for money coming in and money going out. Are you a service provider? Okay, so same. You want to make sure that you have a budget for the income and the outgoings of money. Oh, and a big thing about this one, when I talk about expenses, again, a lot of people just think about products, rent, the booking apps. The number one thing you need to make sure you have in there is your payroll cost. And not necessarily salary, because you don't necessarily go on salary unless you're taxed a certain way. And I'm not trying to overcomplicate this, but you need to get paid. That needs to go into the budget. And so, for example, for you, even though you're not going to be at your business model is really hands off. So you don't have to be in there much, but you need to make sure you have a management fee in there in your cost. So for your budget, you need to make sure you have a management fee. For you actually have two businesses. So you need to get paid from both the boutique, and then you need to have expense for the stylist. You need to make money too. And that is a huge piece of your budget that we gloss over so many times. And then it's like no surprise to me when hairstylists and barbers come to me and they're just like, I'm not making any money. And it's just like, well, let me see your budget. Well, where are you getting paid? The problem is, and I see this time after time, we confuse your payment with profit. Those are two totally different things. What you make in your business is your salary, your wage. Your profit is actually what's left over after you already got paid. And too many times in the hair industry, we combine the two, and we think that the profit is actually what we're supposed to get paid, and it's completely wrong. There are so many businesses that actually don't make a profit, but they're still getting paid. And that's where we have to have a shift in mindset, is because when you hear about businesses that are not profitable for many, many years, please don't believe that means they're not getting paid. They're getting paid because they're on payroll or they're factored in wages. That just means that after they paid themselves and paid all the other expenses, there was no money left over. And that's where we have to make that differentiation. You getting paid separate from profit. Profits are the goal, of course, but if you're working in the business, you need to make sure you get a paycheck. It's not optional, okay? And then the second thing is you have to review that budget on a regular basis. This is not something that you create and then you forget about. So you need to be monitoring this thing on a monthly basis. That's what we do for our monthly clients. So we put together their budget with them, but then we're meeting with them monthly and saying, okay, let's look at this budget. Did you meet your numbers this month? You overspent here. Let's get this back on track. Or sometimes it's business, right? We have things come up. Okay, well, let's adjust the budget. Can we pull from somewhere else? Can we stop the spending here? We know we wanted to do some education this year, but we had this unexpected issue with the plumbing. So can we put that education on hold? We need to have those conversations during the year so that we don't break our budget. The third thing is work with professionals. Don't try to do this yourself. A lot of times hair professionals will try to do all to save the money when actually they're That's you, right? It's like, I can do this. So we have to stop trying to do it all ourselves, because that's not like your strong area. Now you're trying to act as a bookkeeper, a budget, like the finance person, like, and I get it because that was me too in the beginning. Like you hear people say all the time, you need a lawyer and an accountant, right? Like you hear that, but it's like, I can't afford that. And like, that's how I felt. Like that was a nice to have, not a need to have back when I was running my business. But in reality, now I see like, oh, it's actually a need to have. Like you need to have that accounting person in your budget. Now I'm not a lawyer, but I would say an accountant is more important than a lawyer. That's just my personal opinion. But you need to have that. And then the second thing is you need to spend less than you actually make, right? Like I know you raise your hand like, yeah, that's me. So this is managing your expenses. And when I say managing your expenses, this is different from looking at the budget. Now we want to analyze, we want to audit, okay, what are we actually spending money on? And you need to do that on a regular basis. Okay, what is the benefit of this? What am I getting out of it? Is it really worth me spending that money on a recurring basis because it's lowering the amount of money I'm keeping? Another thing is managing cash flow. So I'm a big supporter of using credit, but using it in a like mature way. Like I think credit can be the best friend of a business owner. And I believe every business owner should have credit, but you'll have some people that say, I don't want to do credit. No. In my opinion, like the best way to use your credit, and this is the way I personally run my business, I put all my expenses on a credit card. And then I pay the credit card off every month. But I'm able to do that because I operate on a budget. I'm not just spending money on my credit card. I'm still within my budget, but I'm making sure everything goes on my credit card. And what that does is that allows me to have better cash flow management because I'm actually paying things like a month later. So that gives me more income in my bank. In my bank account, it's building, and then I'm just paying on the credit card. And that does wonders when it comes to cash flow management. I have a client, instead of getting a credit card and putting everything on credit cards, what he does is he keeps taking out these advances. These advances are so expensive. They're like predatory. They are like payday loans for businesses. It is ridiculous. If you really look at it, and the beauty of it is that you don't recognize how much money they're taking out because they're taking it before they even deposit into your bank account. They're taking it and you don't even see how much you're paying back. But when I look at it, I'm just like, wait a minute. Now, just a show of hands. If I told you right now, hey, I will give you $4,000 in cash, but you got to pay me back $9,000. Who would take that? Nobody, right? Well, I'm gonna tell you, every day that's what's happening with these payment advances. You're getting $4,000 and they're getting $9,000. This is a true story of a barber. Exactly, because you don't know. And what they say is, we're gonna take 20% of your daily transactions. To you, that's like, oh, out of $100, they take $20. Oh, that ain't bad. I'm gonna get 80 out of my 100. But what you don't realize is that that's gonna go on for so long that you've paid them $9,000 on them giving you $4,000. Please make that make sense. That is insane. And I have clients doing it every day until I tell them, if I gave you $4,000, will you give me $9,000? No, there's no way, Jen, that's terrible. You know that's what you just signed. What? What do you mean? Yeah, that's the contract. You didn't read it? All they saw was that they were going to get $4,000 and they wanted that cash immediately. And so it's, again, you got to understand it. And I hate these cash advances. Matter of fact, they're so bad, they cannot by law even call them loans. That's why they go by cash advance. They have to say advance because technically they can't even say loan because it's such a terrible product that like the financial services are like, no, you cannot even call that a loan. Like, who's your credit card processor? Square. Oh, Square is notorious. Every day. $20,000 available. Now, Square is not as bad as some of the other ones. I want to say, so I have a client. Oh, yeah. Because they're money makers. Because they know businesses need the cash. Because they know that business owners aren't managing their money, and they're not managing their money because they're not working with an accountant. So it's all a cycle, right? So yeah, so you just want to manage the cash better. So then if you create the budget, you do the cost benefit analysis, and you manage your cash flow, you're going to keep more of your money. Then you say, okay, well, Jennifer, if I'm keeping more of my money, then I'm going to be taxed on more of my money. It's a true statement, but that's where the tax planning comes in and where the tax strategies come in. And that's the game of chess, honestly. That's not checkers. And that's where you need a professional. And so it is a true statement that the more money you keep, the more money you're going to pay in taxes. And that's because the U.S. has what's called a progressive tax system, which means the more taxable income that you make, the higher the tax rate it is. So they're going to tax you on more of your money. But in the tax code, there are ways in which you can save money. But until you know them, you're left oblivious, right? And you're just like, I don't know these things. And again, I was one of them because I just didn't know this stuff. But it's the people who play the tax game, that know the tax game, that know how to work the tax game. And so one of the main things that I see is that, again, if we're not factoring in our pay, our wages into our expenses, we're just paying ourselves as profit, right? Well, then you're going to be taxed at the highest rate. And that's because now you're telling the government that all of your profit is actually your wages. Well, wages, you're going to be taxed 15.3% off the break. And that's what most people are being done. Like, that's what's happening. And they never work with a professional to say, you know what? You could actually pay this much to yourself, pay the 15.3% on just this amount. That is essentially what an S corporation is. It's breaking up how much you pay yourself in salary and how much you pay yourself in profit. And what I'm saying is that there should be no hair professional or no hair business that has been operating more than 5 years who is not taxed as an S corp. That's my personal opinion. Because if you've been doing this more than 5 years, then you've worked up, you have clientele, you've said that I'm going to do this as a profession, then you need to be meeting payroll. You need to say, okay, this is how much I'm paying myself, and it's obviously working for you, then there should be no excuse why you're not taxed as an S corp. And that is like one of the number one strategies in how you can limit how much you're taxed so that you can keep more of your money. So that's where like the tax planning comes. And there are other things. So I know we have a financial advisor here. So there are different types of financial advisors. So I'm a business financial advisor. So I'm going to advise you on how to make more money and how to keep more of your money and how to shelter it from taxes. And then you have financial planners and advisors on the personal level, and that's more of like your retirement strategies, your personal savings, things of that nature, your estate planning. Now, when it comes to your retirement, that's another way in which you can shelter your money from taxes. Now, there are different ways of doing it. You have, and I'm not trying to get too overcomplicated, so I'm like, let me know if it's going over the top of your head, but you have Roth retirement savings, where that is, it's post-tax, means you've already paid taxes on that money, and now you're putting it in an egg nest for yourself when you retire, and when you take the money out, it's not taxed again because it's already been taxed. Now, when you contribute to a Roth IRA, there is no business deduction on that money because you've already paid taxes on it. But then we talk about, okay, you can take out a traditional IRA or traditional 401k, and now that is pre-tax. And that's where you can save some money on the tax side because now your business can contribute to your retirement, and then you get a tax savings because now it's a business expense. But you're still paying yourself. So that's why it's beneficial to you. I recommend actually a mixture of both. So I like for my clients to have Roth 401ks with a traditional business match where your business can take the deduction for what you're matching, what you do personally. So you're contributing to yourself and you're saving some money because you're not going to be taxed on it again when you retire. And now your business can take an extra deduction because your business is actually going to be matching whatever you contribute to yourself for retirement.